My husband and I purchased our very first home as a young military family just 2 years ago. And while we love our house, it just isn't fully us. One of the main spaces in our home that we knew needed special attention is our kitchen. It's a little dark and gloomy, outdated, and can use a little more storage since we don't have a pantry. The only problem is we can't afford to hire out all the work that needs to be done, and we have small pockets of free time. Oh yeah, and did I mention neither of us have professional contracting experience?
I'm really nervous.
If you're new to my channel, hi, I'm April and I love all things interiors and DIY. So join me on my journey of making our house a home little by little. The very first thing that we knew needed to go in this kitchen was the wallpaper. It was making the space look really dark and gloomy, and wallpaper in a kitchen just isn't a good idea in my opinion. We tried a few different methods, but the one that proved most effective was using this Wagner steamer with the wallpaper remover attachment to apply steam to the walls. This really aided in loosening the top layer of wallpaper from the adhesive and allowing for us to just scrape the remaining glue right off the walls. I will admit, this was very tedious and time consuming, and I understand why some people opt to just paint over wallpaper in their homes versus actually removing the wallpaper and then painting. But my husband and I wanted to do things the right way to get the best possible results in the end. So the next thing we needed to do was solve our storage issue. We headed to Home Depot to see what options we had, and we knew we needed to add a pantry cabinet for more storage. So we ended up buying an unfinished pantry cabinet and a base cabinet with drawers. That would give us just a little more countertop space in our kitchen. And it was such a blessing because my dad came into town one weekend and was able to help us install these cabinets. My husband and I also wanted to do something about the textured ceiling and lack of good lighting in our kitchen. So we hired some contractors to smooth out the ceiling and install recessed lighting. We then decided to prime and paint the ceiling ourselves to save money. The next thing we wanted to replace were the old laminate countertops. So after visiting a local stone yard, we settled on an affordable granite and placed an order before patiently waiting for our countertops to arrive. The night before installation day, I removed the old laminate countertops, sink, and faucet from the kitchen and placed a listing on Facebook Market to sell them. This was a great way to add money back into our budget. This day was an exciting day for me, as it was just the beginning of some of the pretty details being added into the space. Our countertop guys worked really hard to get this granite installed, and I commend them because I'm sure the job is far from easy on their bodies. And after what seemed like just an hour, things were really taking shape and we had a new sink and countertops. Just the change of removing the wallpaper and updating the countertops really made the space look and feel so much brighter and more open than it did before. We knew that we had to do something about these 90s oak cabinets if we were going to make this kitchen more of our personal style. But because this isn't our forever home, we didn't want to invest in new cabinets when these were still in pretty decent shape. So we opted to green fill our oak cabinet doors with this aqua coat cabinet green filler and began the prep process before our cabinet doors would be painted. I started by cleaning the cabinets thoroughly with a degreaser and water, then using a TSP substitute to ensure all the dirt, grime, and grease would be fully stripped from the cabinets. We then filled the wood grain on the doors with 2 to 3 layers of grain filler. I found that the best method for applying this product was to lather it on each door using my Bondo spreader in the direction of the grain, and then once it was fully coated, I would use a spreader again to scrape off any excess product from the door in the same direction. Then I would repeat this in the opposite direction, going against the grain. I began with the panel of each door first and then moved on to the rails and stiles of each door. We knew that paint could make a huge impact without making a big dent in our budget, but we wanted as close to a professional finish as possible. So these steps were very crucial for us to achieve that. I made sure to sand and wipe away any dust in between each coat of filler. I jumped back and forth between hand sanding with a sanding sponge and using an orbital sander. Both proved to be just as effective. This was just to ensure that our cabinet doors would be buttery smooth once painted. After we got all of our cabinet doors grain filled and sanded smooth, it was time to prep the cabinet boxes. We started by covering our countertops with plastic to protect them from any chemicals and paint. We then cleaned all the cabinets using a scrubbing pad with degreaser and a TSP alternative, followed by liquid sandpaper to help roughen up the surfaces. This allowed the primer and paint to stick to the surface better. After the cabinets were cleaned, we scuff sanded the cabinets using a sanding sponge to roughen the surfaces of all the cabinets just a little more. I wasn't actually too sure how well this product would work, as I read of a lot of mixed reviews and I didn't want to waste any time or extra money. And I'll be honest, I'm not really sure that I noticed much of a difference, especially since we scuff sanded right after. Getting these cabinets prepared for paint was the final step in our progress this week. But so far in this kitchen makeover series, we've removed 3 layers of wallpaper from the kitchen walls, installed some new cabinets to create more storage, smoothed out our ceiling, and improved our lighting. We also got a new kitchen sink, faucet, and countertops, and started preparing our cabinets for paint. I will say this is pretty good progress for doing this project on our very limited free time. In the next video, we'll be painting our cabinet doors and frames, replacing the old cabinet door hinges with new concealed soft close hinges, and adding pretty hardware to all of the cabinetry. We'll also be removing the old accent lighting above the kitchen sink and preparing all of the kitchen walls for tile backsplash and paint.
I'm really nervous.
So be sure to subscribe to my channel so you don't miss out. Thank you so much for watching and be blessed.